And with that, we shall move to our first question from Utusan Malaysia, I believe. Encik Muhammad Hafiz, please kindly pose your question and state whom you would like to address that question to.
Okay, I'm Hafiz from Utusan Malaysia, Datuk Seri.
Yes, I am.
Okay, here is my question. As the second oldest security arrangement in the world, how does the FPDA plan to remain relevant moving forward for the next 50 years?
Well, that's a very, very, very good question. Maybe my fellow colleagues can answer that. But actually, the question pertains to what we were discussing this morning. We are facing a new global landscape with its own challenges post-pandemic COVID-19 future. But I believe that the stocktake that was presented to us, and not only based on our successes in the last 50 years, but it also outlines the way forward, hopefully for the next 50 years. And what we need to do is to look at the challenges that we face today as opportunities. And this opportunity is to make FPDA closer amongst the nation states, to be more resilient, to be more proactive. And a point that was well taken, it has to be agile, it has to be flexible, it has to be in tune with the changing landscape as it unfolds. So it is important now to really look at, it is important now and adopted by the ministers. But one particular aspect that we were very conscious about is the current security climate and how cyber security also remains a key priority, which has to be introduced in the future planning of FPDA. Current fifth generational assets is another key important factor. Joint exercises that have been successful in the past will have to be expanded in the future. And basically, the shifting geopolitical dynamics is the most pertinent. And having partners and allies who have been with us for 50 years, I cannot ask for more reliable arrangement in trying to, I cannot ask for more reliable waters in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Sri.
Would you guys like to add anything to that? Dr. Ng?
I'll leave it to my other more worthy and knowledgeable colleagues.
You've been involved in FPDA too long, Eng Heng. Okay, the other more knowledgeable colleagues of ours, would you like to say anything, Peter, to that question?
I'll just make a couple of comments. Not because I'm more knowledgeable, but I look to Dr. Ng as the wise man in the room, and he's been there for a long time. And to go to the question in terms of the longevity, but what does the next 5 decades hold? I think it's obvious that we have a real dynamic between the current defence ministers, and I really pay tribute to all of my colleagues, and thanks sincerely Malaysia for hosting today, and the expertise around the table and the support of those who sit in the background has been quite remarkable. And this FPDA is a mainstay. It is a very significant feature of the future, and that's necessary because it builds on a trusted relationship of over 5 decades of working closely together to keep our people safe and secure, and that's the dynamic that we want to adopt into the future as well. So I'm just very pleased and humbled to be in the presence of friends who share the same perspective, and again thank Malaysia and our 2 Prime Ministers for joining us virtually earlier.
Very good. Minister Hanari, would you like to add to it? Penny? No? James, you must have something to say with a cup of coffee.
I think you knocked that out the park, to be honest. There's not much to add, but the question was how does an organization like this remain relevant for the next 50 years? This organization has survived for the last 50 years because it is founded on really close friendships. And I can't see a world in which close friendships go out of fashion and ever become irrelevant. In fact, I think the geopolitical shifts in the world tell us that friendships of this sort become ever more relevant. And so I think the FPDA just needs to keep doing what it's doing, which is standing up for a set of values and assuring the mutual protection of Singapore and Malaysia with your great friends in the UK, Australia, New Zealand.
Thank you. Well said.
Thank you to all the leaders from the various nations for chiming in on that. And now we turn to Amy, who's joining us virtually. She's from the South China Morning Post, and she has a couple of questions. Amy, please pose your question and make sure you address who you would like to answer those questions first, because I know you have a couple. Go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Good afternoon to everyone. My first question is addressed to Datuk Seri Hishamuddin and as well as Dr. Ng Eng Han. What are the biggest threats which Malaysia and Singapore currently faces? If Datuk Seri Hishamuddin could address the question, and also Dr. Ng Eng Han. Thank you.
I think I will allow the learned doctor to
I'm sure that my colleagues from Australia, New Zealand, and UK would have very directly and effectively answered through our senior officials came up with. And that's encapsulated in the remit those came up with, which is the external defense of Peninsular Malaysia and Singapore. PDA was founded upon, which is the as my Prime Minister said, the FPDA was founded, the consultative arrangement, in a very different time, and we were two young nations founded the consultative. The FPDA provided a strategic security umbrella in Singapore, and the FPDA thrive. And I think today, 50 years on, we have both capable military. I think today, 50 years on, we are relevant despite both countries. This FPDA is even more relevant despite both countries having professional defense deterrence. And, you know, the saying, the stronger you are, the more friends you have. Defense deterrence, and, you know, the saying, the strong, there isn't any, and we would like to continue that. The arrangement is aimed at, it's not meant for that. And this consultative arrangement is, which was reassurance. And that's the reason why we invite ASEAN, the second R, which was reassize. We've invited Indonesia's senior officials to observe the exercise, observers as well. And I think that's the nature of FPDA, and it will continue to be so.
Yeah.
I think that's...
totally agree that there is no singular... Totally we faced. And challenges that we face with regards to security and defense also involves counterterrorism, transnational crime, unintended incidents in the high seas. These are all potential flashpoints in our region. But we are also not spared from what is unfolding beyond our region. And this is something that FPDA must take note of. And the arms and agencies and information that we individually have collectively will be a strength for us in trying to face these challenges. Having said that, the biggest challenge, not a threat, but the biggest challenge to us is how to keep us intact and how does this organization expand to have more influence outside just the FPDA. And this is an area that we discussed earlier, engagements with ASEAN, for example, engagements with multilateral arrangements with other groups, engagements with multilateral arrangements with other group values that we have stood for the last 50 years. So we have to stand up there without being apologetic. We have to stand up to them with confidence, but with that confidence also comes humility in facing threats that no one individual country can face on its own.
Thank you, Dr. Sri, and thank you, Dr. Ng. Amy, you have another question?
Amy again?
Yes. The second question, I would actually...
The question?
Amy again?
Yes. Okay, and also question, I would actually is Right Honourable Ben Dutton. Recently, we all heard a lot about AUKUS. Will AUKUS result in Malaysia and Singapore being caught in the middle of a US-UK, Australia rivalry with China, raising tensions in the Indo-Pacific? Or is this outcry over AUKUS overdone and overhyped? I would appreciate it if Australia and the UK could respond. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to go first, if that suits James. Just a couple of points. I mean, firstly, Australia is a good neighbour, and I think we've evidenced that over the course of the last 5 over the course of that period, that we are not a bully, we're not somebody who interferes with the operations of other nations. We are a country which is forthright, and we want prevailing peace in our region, and that's at the centre of our friendships here, and Australia's friendships with many other countries, defence alliance or a security pick, nor has it changed. That AUKUS is not a defence alliance or a work which, nor has it changed, share Australia's strategy. AUKUS is a framework which will allow us to ensure that Australia remains a reliable and highly capable partner for because we want to do that as we contend with obvious rapid changes in our security environment. It'll complement Australia's network of international partnerships, including the FPDA, but not limited to it. Also with ASEAN, which we see as the primary engagement piece in our region. Obviously, our close relationship with our Pacific family, including New Zealand and many other smaller nations, with the Five Eyes group, with the Quad, and other partners in the region. So from our perspective, AUKUS will complement our collective efforts to meet the challenges, as I say, in that changing circumstance, and to ensure that the Indo-Pacific remains stable, secure, prosperous and free from coercion. That's all we wish for. So I really acknowledge the work that we've been able to do together to ensure that stability over the course of the last 5 decades, and that will be the underpinning for the continued success that we have for all of us and for many of our other neighbours within the region. That prevailing peace and security and stability is at the heart of every decision that Australia makes.
Thank you.
I think what he said, it's the UK and the US have been sharing these technologies for decades. Australia made a capability decision around what it needed from its submarine fleet going into the future, and the opportunity presented itself for them to join with the UK and US in what has already been a very successful technology sharing partnership. And that's exactly what it is. I think that there has been a lot of sort of overhyping of going forwards.
Thank you, Amy, for your question, and we'd like to thank all the leaders for joining us virtually. Thank you, Dr. Sri Hishamuddin Tun Hussein, for also being here, and we'd like to thank all the members of the media joining us virtually for your participation. That's all the time we have for this session, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the organizers, we'd like to thank all the members of the media who have been so gracious to take time off your schedules to be here as well and participate in supporting the ceremony. On that note, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you at the next event that we're hosting. Don't forget to catch the Fly Pass live at 5:45.
That's in Subang.
That's in Subang. I know a lot of them will be there as well, Dr. Sri. Thank you,
Thank you.
members of the media.
Right.